I can vividly remember the first time I smoked a cigarette. I was in my then best friend's Discord server quietly shooting the shit as to not disturb the other people in my grandfather's densely packed trailer, with electrical wiring as equally 1970s as the wood paneling that unmarred the place. Brownouts were a regular occurrence in this house. The lights would flicker, indicating that anything and everything using electricity would come to a grinding halt. I had just experienced one before entering this call, leading me to jerry-rig the modem back to a functioning state after multiple unsuccessful attempts at turning it off and on, waiting for all of its lights to come back so the internet could come on again. The process of unplugging it was nigh impossible in the sea of wires and power strips that pervaded it. No wonder we had electrical problems. My body was nearly out of it by the time I had asked my friend to join the voice room of their server. Whose wouldn't be? It was 12:30 and I was playing mechanic in a living room at which I had been sleeping in every day for several months. Whether or not I wanted to wake up each morning was never a question. It was a matter of being. My step-cousin, who had been living there since before my grandpa and grandma died, didn't technically inherit the place, but lived there anyway. The old folks' home possessed the house, but whoever worked there most likely had decent enough sense to realize that the moment that they took the house, it would be condemned. There was no investment to be paid back on there. With the brokers off his back, it was mopping floors and letting extended family share the squabble he inhabited. 5 a.m. Punch-up time. It was not difficult for me to make a snide remark at the expense of my cousin to my father the moment he left the house. If you saw him, trust me, you would think he was as much of a faggot as I did, especially on low sleep. The light struck me each morning like a damn bullet from the front window to the simultaneously oozing and dusty couch I had to sleep in. When your room is the living room, your room is everyone's room, and that comes with the sun coming up in the morning and the wagies preparing for their cagies. I'd often get to sleep at 3 and then be forced up by 5, without a minute to spare because he was getting ready for work. I continued to stay up all night regardless, time and time again. Now, back to 12 a.m. Discord calls. As I kept my voice down with the two people in this call in the hopes that my cousin, whose door was wide open down the hall, would not hear me, not for his sake, I couldn't care less about how much energy he had when he was going to work. My conversations were just embarrassing. I began writing in the text chat as I listened to the two of them speak, until finally I had enough of it. I was a bit of a drama queen, dealing with conflicts so nonsensical I can't even remember them, but hey, what teenager doesn't? I walked outside with a cigarette I had rolled from my dad's never-ending supply of American Spirit tobacco. I could have grabbed a cigar from my cousin's equally never-ending mountain of cigar boxes, but I wasn't ready for smoke hitting me that hard, and I knew it. Looking out at the night sky in a closed-off neighborhood of no more than 5 houses smacked straight at a dead-end road was a peaceful experience. No cars, no people with their noises. I lit up, inhaled, and puked. The front lawn was not happy, and neither was I. I had never tasted something quite that disgusting in my 15-year-old life. It was as if I had deep-throated an 80-year-old penis made out of ash. I immediately lifted it up again, inhaled again, and still hated it, but at least I didn't puke. There was no challenge, no indication that what had just happened was unnatural or upsetting. Only puke, only practice. Rinse, repeat, and the acquired taste was now mine. I continued smoking for 2 more years on and off, never smoking too many days in a row, never smoking too many in a day, and never using substantial sums of money to get more. It didn't hurt to not use cigarettes. There was not a single moment in which my desire, psychologically or physically, exceeded my capacity to stop. I was in the driver's seat. The appeal for me was quite typical. The energy, the stimulation that nicotine provided alongside a calmness towards the world around you, or even just having an excuse to leave the room and go outside, was enough to keep me coming back, again, on and off. There was something comforting about putting one in my hand just to have it around. I quit during the late summer of 2019, however, after receiving a poem from a close friend of mine worried sick. Reading it was some of the most emotion I had felt that year. As simple of a thing as it was, hearing something so direct made with passion from a person you care for is powerful. If I died of cancer, I have a feeling it would have hit at the earliest in my 30s the way it did for Bill Hicks, but he was a chain smoker. I never made it a habit because once it's a habit, all you get are diminishing returns. You can't enjoy a substance if the only reason you're using it is to sustain your baseline emotional state, sanity, or to feel normal. That only leads you to using it more, getting a greater tolerance, and the cycle repeats itself, only now, more painfully. There wasn't a chance of me getting significantly sick until much, much later in life, when it is unlikely for him and I to even be speaking if I didn't die from something else first. But I quit, and I'm never going back. It doesn't matter how much of an addict I was not, or how responsibly I smoked, as responsibly as smoking gets at least, because when a friend makes a gesture of care to you, you return the favor. Love you, Mark. Poetry is cool.